In this video, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on GBPUSD and USDJPY and how you can trade it going into this week. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So like I mentioned, I'm going to be analyzing GU and UJ today. So we'll start off with GU as I'm seeing the most potential on this pair. We've got a few nice zones lining up. So if we just go through that first of all. And for the analysis in this video, I'm going to be starting on the weekly time frame, as price has come to quite a significant area on the weekly time frame. So looking on the weekly, we can still see that we are technically bearish. So we've had this weekly breaker structure, price pulled back, tapped into this area of supply. We then came back down, took out this weekly low, forming a new lower low. And right now, which is the significant area which I mentioned, price has pulled back into a premium level of imbalanced weekly supply just here. And if we go down to the daily, we can see that price has started to shift bearish from that weekly level. And what I mean by that is price was printing higher lows and higher highs. This was the most recent higher low. Price made this impulsive move up, breaking this high. We have now had price move away from that weekly level of supply, taking out this current daily structure. So that would be our daily change of character, because it's a breaker structure in the opposite direction to the trend. So predominantly this week, we will be looking at a retracement into some key areas for then further sells. And the long-term picture as of right now would be for GU to continue down probably until the end of the year, back down towards this low at 1.03. But just looking on an intraday perspective and following this sort of local trend within the overall main downtrend, we can see that we've had this 4-hour breaker structure. After price pulled back and mitigated this zone. So we're following where the mitigations are. Price made this low, pulled back, swept liquidity into this area of supply, and now we've had that further breaker structure confirming the continuation of the trend over to the downside. So what we're going to be looking for now is for price to retrace into a premium area of this current leg on the 4-hour. So between this low and this high, that's our current trading range. We're going to be waiting for price to pull back into one of these two levels. So the first level that I'm interested in is this 4-hour level of supply, which was induced by this liquidity on Friday. If we go and mark that on as well, we can see that we had price creating this sort of area of liquidity. It never came into this area of supply. It slightly missed it. We also left this sort of wick here, which I'm also seeing as a sort of inducement below the zone. The second level that we have, going back to the 4-hour, we have this level of supply as well, which was left imbalanced, and we also had this inducement below it as well. Personally, I'm favoring this top zone if price were to retrace, since this area here was caused by news, and a lot of the times with the news, with the areas of supply and demand caused by news, you often see them fail and they don't really give a nice reaction. So we can get rid of this one, in my opinion, and just wait for price and see if it can retrace all the way back into this premium level. The other scenario is that price continues straight down from where it currently is. So if we see something like this, where we get a break of this low just here, we can then react to that and wait for price to form some more structure where we can then look to get in further down here, rather than waiting for it to pull back all the way to this zone. So I'll just mark that on. We could see something like this, where we break this low, have a retracement into some sort of area of supply, and then we can look for those confirmations to sell down. And targets for this week would be possibly this area, as that is the next area of major buy side liquidity. We swept all of the sell side within this current range after coming to that weekly level. We've taken out daily structure, so the likely thing to happen now is for price to gravitate towards opposing liquidity, and that is in this case buy side at this sort of area at 1.23. So that is my outlook on GU for this week. We could see, just to summarize, I'll draw this on. One of two things: we could see price retrace all the way back into this level for sells down, or the other thing that we could see is for price to break the low from where it currently is, and then we can look for a retracement into the new trading range that would have formed, and look to just ride it down all the way to that major area of sell side liquidity. So that's what I'm seeing on GU. If we go over to UJ now, UJ at the moment has been presenting some very nice opportunities, as it has been very clearly trending to the upside with these sort of small pullbacks, respecting all of the structure, and just presenting a very beautiful price action, in my opinion. So we'll start on the daily, just looking at this sort of local price action. There's no need to really go back any further in time. So if we just follow like we did on GU, we'll mark out where the mitigations are and where our key structural points are. So on UJ, we had a sweep of all of this liquidity in here. We then had a major break of structure on the daily time frame when we came and took out this high. At the end of last week, we came back, did this retracement on the 4 hour, came into this area of demand in this sort of region. If we go on the 3 hour, you can see that a little bit more clearly. It was this area just here, which was induced by this wick. Price came into that level, and then just impulsively moved over to the upside, taking out this previous high just here. So that is our most recent break of structure. Therefore, our trading range is between this low and this high, and that is the range in which we will look for buys. For example, there would be no point looking for buys below this range, because we know that if price is to maintain this bullish structure, then we shouldn't see this low taken out. So going back over to the daily time frame, I'm seeing basically two potential levels where we could look to get in on the buys. The first one would be if we draw a line just here. Once this area of daily liquidity is taken out, so if you see this wick just here, once that wick is taken out, we could see a nice reaction to the upside, as that would correspond with all of the current liquidity within the daily range being taken out. Just looking at this, we can see from this low to this high, the only area of liquidity that we can see on the daily is this wick just here. So if price takes that, I think there's quite a high likelihood that we will form some sort of lower time frame trend change, and then we can look to ride that up to some previous structure. The other level that we could see, but actually before we go to the second level, I wanted to show you that this sort of daily level of liquidity corresponds nicely with this hourly level of demand, which was left imbalanced. We look a little bit more closely. As you can see, this wick induced it and we never actually came into it. So I think one of the things we could see is for price to retrace, take out this wick into this area of demand, and then we can wait for that lower time frame entry confirmation to buy up to the most recent high. If this level fails and we see price continue a little bit lower, we could see price also come back to this level of demand here on the 3 and the 4 hour, which swept liquidity to the left, was imbalanced, and we have liquidity above it as well. So these are basically the two levels where I'd be looking and interested to get in on the buy positions. So at the moment, it would just be like a waiting game, waiting for price to patiently come back into one of these two levels, and then we can react to what it does just there. As for overall targets on the daily time frame, what I noticed was that if we go to the lower time frame on the 4 hour, we can see that we have this very clear level of 4 hour supply, which was left imbalanced, and we have all of this liquidity just below it as well. So as for a potential target for the buys, I'd be looking to target around 151 to 152. However, I do ultimately see 152 being taken out due to how bullish price is at the moment. If we also have a look on the yen index, what we can see is that on the daily time frame, we are trending very bearish. The daily time frame pulled back, took out these sellers, wicked into this area of supply, and now we sort of formed this retail area of support with around 4 taps of that zone. So there is a lot of liquidity resting below it. So ultimately this week, I do see price heading back towards this sort of region, taking out this sort of floor of liquidity, floor of support, which would correspond nicely with any pairs that have JPY as the quote currency, so the second currency. That would correspond nicely with buys on those pairs, so GBP, JPY, Euro JPY, and also UJ, of course. We can also see that this sort of area of demand on the yen index has just failed, confirming that we are likely to continue over to the downside, and the next target would be this area of liquidity. So UJ buys are looking very promising this week, and as I said, at the moment, just being patient, waiting for a retracement into one of our key levels to then look to buy up to that 152 or 151 key level. So that's basically it. Yeah, I hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe, and also make sure to comment your analysis in the comment section below, and also what pairs you guys have on your watch list going into this week, as I'm interested as to who trades multiple pairs or just one pair. So yeah, make sure to leave it in the description below, the comment section below, and thank you guys for watching.